That's right now, these charges are a class 4 or 5 felony, but we're learning a bill that received bipartisan support that would have made these penalties even harsher was actually vetoed back in June by Governor Katie Hobbs. 25-year-old Jake Murphy was in custody for domestic violence charges against his ex-girlfriend when police say she made a bombshell discovery. Investigators say the ex-girlfriend found Murphy's old iPhone, and inside, she discovered he had been posting nude images and videos of her on Reddit without her consent, showing her face and identifying tattoos. In one of the posts online, the report mentions a nude photo was posted with the caption, "Just found out she was cheating, so enjoy everyone." According to police, Murphy had been posting these photos and videos since 2022 under multiple accounts. Police say Murphy admitted to posting the content, stating he needed to bring in cash for legal fees for the domestic violence arrest involving the same victim. Murphy faces 12 felony counts.
The internet is pretty much forever.
Attorney Ben Taylor says in many cases, law enforcement and attorneys can find who has the image and get it wiped, but that's easier said than done.
If it's on there, it can be sent to multiple locations throughout our nation, throughout the globe. So it's very hard to take stuff down if it's already out there on the internet.
Arizona has laws in place making revenge porn illegal with penalties up to 4 years in prison. But House Bill 2133, passed by the legislature this year with bipartisan support, would have increased those penalties. Ultimately, Governor Katie Hobbs vetoed the bill. A statement from the governor's office said the bill's sponsor included something that had nothing to do with revenge porn, language that would have required anyone creating satire or parody of an elected official to get permission from that official first. That could apply to TV shows like South Park. Hobbs said that violated the First Amendment right of free speech. The bill's sponsor accused the governor of choosing party politics over children and victims. Yeah, so Taylor adds there are websites that a victim can use to scrub this material, but this can be expensive and it can cost a whole lot of money that people might not have. So if you are a victim of this, the best thing that you can do is document it and go to the police immediately. In the newsroom, Austin Walker for Arizona's Family.